And we are back. I'm Skip Murphy, joined in studio by my fellow Grokster Steve McDonald. We are GrokTALK, a production of GrokTALK.com, New Hampshire's leading conservative libertarian website. We still have Kevin left over from our last segment. He's got some spare time.
Oh, don't call Kevin leftovers.
You
First
know
you
what
said
I
I
mean.
wasn't very attractive, now you call me leftover.
It's what's inside that counts, Kevin.
Yes, I asked you to stick around if you had the time, and so there you
If I'm
are.
unattractive, I don't get I'm getting an implant, and I've gone for a whole year without a tooth, right? Since February, and I get the temp in October, and I get the final implant in like January. And I think my wife got used to it, but they wanted to charge me like $500 for this flipper thing. And I'm like, $500 is a lot of money to me. I can't do that. I'm just gonna have to walk around without a tooth and explain it to anybody who asks me. Did you get hit? Did you play hockey? I'm thinking, oh, badminton accident, something weird, just to kind of, So,
But now we
Anyway.
are joined in studio by
Yes.
somebody who outshines us all. Much better. And now I've got her
Well, come on,
blushing.
you have
This
a-
is great.
she had a professional career before she came here and destroyed it by talking to us.
We are joined in studio by New Hampshire State Rep from Alton in District 8 in Belknap County, the wonderful JaneCormier.
Oh my goodness, how can I live up to that? Quite an intro.
Well, I think you've been doing well enough to live up to it with all of your activities lately. And welcome back to GrokTALK.
Thank you, pleasure to be here.
So, why are you here? Other than Steve said, come on in.
We talked about that. We weren't really sure what we talked about doing the woodshed thing with the Republican Party. We talked about.
That's always fun.
And David Hewitt.
Yeah, let's start with him.
No.
Oh my goodness,
Let's
really?
dump on him as much as we can, especially with Ed Philpott preceding him.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking about two progressives that are solidly entrenched in the arrogance of knowing everything about anything. And, I have to say, Rep. Hewitt, he's in the delegation, of course, the Belknap County delegation, and he's always the guy that seems to come off as though he knows
Smarty.
sometimes better than everybody what's going on. And I was really surprised by that latest, his little say goodbye to Rep. Kingsbury, because it was so, that one sentence that he had in there,
Yeah,
that I don't have it in front of me.
I do.
You do?
I do, because
Okay.
I posted it last night.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is former retired Lieutenant Colonel of the Army, Bob Kingsbury. After running for the New Hampshire House 10 times, he finally made it in for the 210-211 session, and therefore was part of the New Hampshire Belknap County delegation. And, actually that's the obit. Let me go down here just a little bit and read it. And it's very short, but there was one line in there, and we've been talking about civility or the incivility all day long.
That's been a huge theme for me ever since before the
Yep.
2012 election.
And so here's what retired judge and New Hampshire State Rep. David Hewitt wrote about Bob Kingsbury, who, I'm sorry, I knew him for 4 years, and a more kindler,
Yes.
gentler person I couldn't imagine. Quote, I can't remember anything on which Bob Kingsbury and I ever agreed. Bob, however, was always a gentleman. He served his country honorably and bravely as an officer in the Army of the United States. He participated actively in the life of his community. And here's the gotcha. So far, so good, and then it falls into the sewer. Quote, although some of us did not think it wise that a person with his views should serve in public office, and I will put in, probably he really agonized over ever should serve in public office. He didn't just sit around and complain, he voiced his views openly and honestly. Bob Kingsbury will be remembered by a lot of people for a lot of things. Actually, that's something to which we should all aspire. Rest in peace, Bob. Yeah, you basically said, I should never have met you because you should never have been in office, but rest in
Yeah,
peace.
that's the part that got me. I tell you, that one sentence, that sentence bothered me all night. And I think it bothered me because I wasn't sure whether or not Rep. Hewitt was so arrogant in his world as to actually be able to stand behind the thought that somebody that had different viewpoints should never be able to serve.
Oh yeah.
If he was actually trying to make that statement because he didn't know better, or if he was making a statement because he wanted people to know he didn't agree with anything that Rep. Kingsbury said. I still don't know what the answer is to that, but in any case, it's a really bad statement, and it's an indictment on progressivism in New Hampshire and in this country, that a group of people know best, and you should just shut up and go sit in the corner and let them take care of business.
Well, and you're right. This has been smarmy is the word of the week for us. And they
Welcome to
all
GrokTALk. Today's word is smarmy.
because they all act like the elderly, smarmy school teachers with their best teacher's pet at their side. And this was not predicated, but
Preceded.
Thank you very much. By Ed Philpott, who is a Democrat Belknap County Commissioner, who at a Belknap County Democrat Party meeting back in July said the following about the Republicans in the New Hampshire Belknap County delegation. These are bad people looking to do bad things, declared Belknap County Commissioner Ed Philpott of Laconia, referring to what he called the very extreme political element within the Republican Party who have gained a commanding presence among the 18 members of the Belknap County House delegations. These people, he said, want to kill government. They want government to go away.
I'm sure
See,
Hitler will be in there soon somewhere if you keep
Yes.
going. Hitler will
yeah,
pop
that's
out. Yeah.
yeah. This was being generous at the worst, the least part of it. No, I mean you're absolutely right, Jane. These are people who believe if you subtract a single dollar, and we're seeing it in Belknap County, if you subtract a single dollar from their budget, if you subtract a single full-time worker, you're an anarchist.
Yes.
You know what it really comes down to? We're glad you're dead. We just have to figure out how to take your stuff now.
Yeah, but you know,
Make the statement anyway.
the fact that they would say you should never have ever served in public office. I mean, they would say that about me. They say that about you. Anybody who believes that I should be in charge of my life rather than government, that government should be doing just a limited number of things, you want to kill government.
Right.
Have they ever thought that maybe with their overemphasis that government should be doing everything, maybe we do want to just to shut them up? You know, I get tired of saying, well, government has to do this, government has to do that. I'm so sorry that this is it. And, you know, Kevin, you've taken it on the chin for some of your stances in your professional career. You're probably getting lambasted all the time because, Jane, there's one thing I can say about you. You are not shy about speaking your mind.
I don't care. And I tell you, the issue with the jail in the Belknap County, you know, we went in and we took our tour, which we should have, as representatives. Many of us took that tour because there's this big funding thing, or there was. It's pretty much off the table, I think now. We've killed it. That, you know, we needed a $42 million jail in Belknap County. And we saw a
For
really...
Republicans.
Yeah, well, we won't
Nice
go there.
Nice segue there.
We won't go there. But it was a pretty dismal...
Squirrels.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly, you know.
Right. Well, in what he's talking about in the statement with what was said, right, for the
Right.
obituary, yes. In any case, you know, the decision, I guess now they've listened to the people enough, and now they're going to have a committee, a correctional committee, which nobody that I know of in the delegation knows anything about. I don't know who's on the committee, but I've heard that...
Is it a blue ribbon committee?
I guess it's a committee to see certain things that we can try to do.
Give each other gold stars.
Yeah, maybe that's the committee, because I tried to offer that in a meeting, that maybe we should have a community group get together to see what we can do for the jail, because it does need something. And that was blown out of the water by, you know, oh, we could never do that, you know, that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea. Well, okay, that's a bad idea. So now I don't know who's on this committee, but we'll keep tabs on that as well. But the real thing that they dislike is, despite the fact that two of the commissioners are supposedly Republican, and I'd like to remind them that they have a small government platform that they might want to follow, I'm just saying. But the Democrat, Mr. Philpott, is so anti-open-minded on any other possibility but a big fat money government solution to anything, that the meetings are fairly, you know, we try what we can, we push back when we can, as a conservative majority in the delegation, and of course they just hate that. So it gives rise to these wonderful spots where they think they're among friends, and they can say, you know, these are bad people who want to do bad things.
Well, let's name those 2 Republican commissioners in Belknap County. One of them is Steve Netto of
Yes.
Meredith.
Right?
Not somebody I would ever think to hang Tea Party on or
No.
small limited government. I consider him, I mean, he's a nice enough guy, but politically he is an establishment Republican that has no problem in seeing government get larger.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other person, and I'm trying to remember their name.
John,
Thank you.
what's his last name? He's the gentleman I remember when he came out of his seat at Chair Colette Worsman during a meeting, during an open public meeting. And it was near the beginning of this process. Of course, I'm real new to the process, right? First freshman, right? And he came out of his seat, red-faced and enraged, and pointed a finger at Colette Worsman and said, "You want to take this on, lady?" No kidding.
Ooh.
Like, I was sitting there going, what? What?
Reminds me of The Machine and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where those big guys were saying, "Who do you think you are?"
Certainly does.
Smith.
And very, very similar. What's his
Yeah.
name? John?
I can't
That's
remember.
a terrible thing.
Rhino, John Rhino.
Now I got to find out what that is, because that's
Oh,
terrible.
I can look it up. Well, I have the excuse that I'm horrible at names, and
Oh,
not to the sense of being prideful about it, but
so many names. How can you remember them all?
So John so-and-so. Okay, all right.
Commissioner. And
Commissioner.
he's actually the head honcho this year.
Is he?
In the past delegation, it was Philpott. But now John, oh my gosh. He's
Oh,
my
I'll pull-
head commissioner.
here we go. John Thomas.
Thank you.
John
You're
Thomas.
welcome.
Well, that makes sense.
John Thomas, yes.
You know, I look at both of them, and
Good thing Mike's not here.
you know, Steve said it well. We whack Republicans as much as we whack Democrats, because we do stand on principle. We put principle above politics. And the motto of Granite Rock is we thank them when they're right and we spank them when they're wrong. And I'm sorry, these two, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. And you know, you talk about civility. Well, I'm sorry, but Republicans are also guilty of being incivil at times. And I've taped a couple of those meetings when I've had the chance to get there. And yeah, there's a lot of incivility, and not all of it's based on Democrat towards Republican or backwards.
You know what? I want to say something about that, because this topic keeps rearing its ugly head about somehow that when conservatives speak, or people that are liberty-minded speak, somehow they're not civil. You know, I've been running around for 2 years to an awful lot of meetings. Whether it's watching a DOE meeting or whether it's watching a let's get more, you know, subsidy and Medicaid expansion into
So
the state.
exciting, yeah.
Yes, okay. But you want to know something? Almost never do I see the conservative speaking come off as an ideologue who is uncivil. Almost to a one.
That's up to us.
But that might be up to you, but the perception out there is that if you're quote Tea Party or quote Libertarian or Free State, or somehow you're a loon who's uncivil and doesn't understand. But you want to know, when you go to those meetings time and again, the one that is uncivil, again, almost to a one, is the progressive.
Well, that's why that thing, that camera, is what I keep telling Republicans over and over again. Tea Partiers, Libertarians, Free Staters, whatever. If you go to a meeting, you bring one of those up.
Yeah.
Because I learned the hard way, just being on the budget committee, trying to go against the good old boys, because I wanted everybody to know that I'm watching out for your dollar and the value of it, that
Yeah.
I will spend your money as if it was my own. And I got in trouble for that.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm sitting here I'm doing all the computer analysis on an Excel spreadsheet in real time, saying, we just spent $200 a head for this recreational and parks endeavor. Are you out of your ever stupid minds?
Yeah, well, you're the dreaded beast at that point, because the one thing that progressives hate is factual,
Yeah.
timely information.
But you bring that and you start putting the camera on them, and what I found out very quickly, and everybody else who's ever done this, the people who are calling you the bad person, the one that
Right.
you're the shouter, you're the evil person, you put the camera on them. And I noticed they stopped coming to our meetings
Yes.
because I posted it on the internet, and they kind of went, oh crap.
Yeah, they don't like to be exposed. You're right. I can't tell you the number of times I've had people say to me, and it's kind of funny now because I have my pat response, but they'll say to me, I've had responses, well, we're not going to let you speak again because you're just way too political. And well, I am a rep, and yeah, we're talking about a political situation here, or political impact of a bill to the people in my community. And, or I've had people say, well, you're just so angry. And I always say, I'm not angry. I'm passionate.
Why don't you call them
That's a
sexist?
difference.
If you were progressive, you would have called them sexist and bigoted. And,
I hate that name calling
some
no
other
matter,
ist.
no matter
Yeah.
which way you go with it. Progressive fits, though, because it is an ideology that is very strong, and you can't miss it when you see it.
You're going to have to listen to our our second segment today, because we had Ashley Pratt of Cornerstone in, and she's learning out the hard way,
Yeah.
going from the college life to the on the front lines, and what she's been going through. And you're absolutely right. And we call it you're getting Alinsky'd.
Yeah,
And in essence,
they think.
I think what I would tell Tea Party type folks, conservative type folks, liberty minded folks like yourself and anybody else, it's like, something. Stop playing by the Marcus of Queensberry rules in a fight, and start doing what they do, which is an MMA, mixed martial arts. That you cannot limit yourself, and if they're going to Alinsky you, Alinsky's rules do wonderful things for us on the other
They
side.
work both ways, absolutely. The Alinsky thing, though, is going to bite these guys in the butt once we start letting people of the mainstream population understand what that really means. Because you know what? Your person that's going shopping in Hannaford has no idea how they're being played.
Oh no, and I'll tell you that for the first two years for me, I was overloaded by what was going on until I started to hear Alinsky. What is this Alinsky?
Right.
And I did do the reading, and I went, yeah. So I've been Alinsky, and Xander Rice Hawkins of Granite State Progress was the first person who tried to Alinsky me. And she did the rule of make them live up to their own rule book, because I put this picture of this really heavy set SEIU person who was demanding that we pay for her health care, and there she is with 2 plates of food, with the the sweatpants and the sneakers and muffin tops tripled over. It's
Big
like
purple shirt.
oh yeah, and you said that you don't make fun of people. You ought to take that picture down. And the more I looked into her, and I went, yeah, screw you. And I'll tell her that to her face. So now I go up to her, and every time I see her at an event, I say, hi, I'm your favorite misogynist. And I started with a litany of the stuff that she calls me. How are you, Xandra? And she just goes,
Yeah.
and walks away.
Well, there's been quite a little talk. The Delphi technique is being used everywhere. Everywhere. It's not just in New Hampshire Listen sessions, which it's really big in New Hampshire. They just love that. I just wrote an article for Where's Times. It's a 2-parter. The first one went out about the Delphi technique, and how it is just to shut you up. It's just a technique that the progressives or Alinsky used liberally as well, to marginalize and make people seem stupid so that they could direct the conversation to exactly the predetermined end of what they want, right?
Yeah, Sustainable Communities Initiative.
That's a big part of it, yeah. But they do it. I mean, the Democrats
Period.
use it too. The Democrats use it in the House. I mean, people are using it all over the place, and it's unidentified by the layperson. So I thought this was important. So my first.
I need to post those then.
Yeah, my first one went out last week. I think it's running this week actually. The what it is. Okay, and of course the Where's Times articles that I write are written for somebody that works 90 hours a week and knows something's wrong, but doesn't have time to really sit down and figure it out. So I try to come up with like 500 to 600 words to get into that mind. That's the whole point, right? So we had some discussion, some chatter for the next one, because I have all kinds of friends. I have the best friends in the world, and let me tell you, I learned so much stuff under the wire with these guys. And so I had some friends that went to, about a month ago, I guess, this meeting where New Hampshire Listens crew, those people, the RPCs, that decided that they're going to have a training because they know they're being outed on the Delphi technique. They know people are figuring it out. So they actually had a training on what you can do. The facilitators are key. The facilitators are the bad guys, right, that look like the good guys. And, so they have to go out and perfect this now that people are marginalizing what's happening because they're infiltrating little groups and they're not sitting together. So I figured, I wanted to put the second article on when you're in there now, what can you do? And let people know that once you're in there, what they're going to do now in the next phase, because progressivism is all about phases. That's how they're doing. That's how they do this so well, is because they get one phase going They get outed. They're already on to the next phase.
Like for 100 years.
That's right. They're always ahead, phase-wise. They're really good. We got to catch up with them. So I put in the newspaper, and of course, some of the people that have been fighting the Delphi technique, the underground people that are really smart grassroots people that go to these meetings and blow them up on the ones facilitating.
I like that.
Bad word. I'm sorry.
No. It's a perfect word because that's exactly what should be done.
Oh, and it works. I've done it twice. It's great. Anyway, I told them that the facilitators had a group. This I'm outing my next article at Weir's Times. Anyway, I don't care. This group of UNH art teachers got together and were asked to come.
There's a stereotype.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, but see, it's a correct one in this case, right?
It's true.
And they gave role play, and they evidently had role play in there with a lot of people that are really big in the movement in New Hampshire. Specific people that were caricatured. I didn't put that in the article. But these people that were...
Did Steve and I make it? No,
you didn't. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
And not that I heard. Who knows?
I actually have a perfect picture for that. The most popular man in the world thing, with the meme that says, I don't always do this, but it says, I don't always talk to art majors, but when I do, I order fries with my drink.
Well, you know what?
You gotta post that.
I'm a creative arts person, and that's what I got my underdegree with. But some arts are.
It is a good way to meet girls. Actually.
Oh my goodness! Here we go. Anyway, I divulged in this article what they're planning, and I'm sure they're just going to be so pissed. But that's okay too, because one of the things is now they've decided that they're going to have the facilitators when someone speaks out at the meeting. The facilitator goes over and stands next to the person and then physically points to the head facilitator and tries to use some words that will physically point discussion back to the facilitator, who will then marginalize the comment and redirect it. Okay, it's kind of like okay, you're on kind of thing, right? To the facilitator. And of course, anybody out there that's listening, because you guys all understand the game, but for one that didn't understand the game, the facilitator, the head facilitator, is the one that makes sense from all the little guy facilitators in the little groups so that they can really compartmentalize the message
So
exactly.
that's how a cult operates.
Yeah, it is like a cult.
And you're trying to speak truth to a cult, and the cult's going to really work hard to
they
not
do.
let the truth out. Yeah.
They do. So the second one, here's the best one. I love this one. I thought all I could think of was leapfrog. It was great. So in this one, when they find out what you're saying, the facilitator goes over to the speaker and stands in front of them and turns their back to the speaker. Okay.
The first thing you do is this.
Yeah. But
just scratching.
yeah, that's it.
Oh, like Obama does?
So by putting the back, of course, to the speaker, that's to shut the speaker down. And my first thought was, are they serious? I mean, if they ever did that to me, I'd walk in front of the person, and then they'd walk in front of me, and then I'd walk in front of them, and pretty soon you'd have a game of leapfrog who's going to get to the head of the class. Do they think that's really going to shut down somebody that understands what's going on?
You know what you do? You take the air siren out of the back pocket and go, really? Bet you that doesn't happen too much often.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
No, you're right. At this point, I think of, what was his name? Andrew Kerouac, the crazy writer, and his merry band.
Was it Jack?
Jack Kerouac.
Yeah.
See, I'm horrible at
That's
names.
all right.
And his merry band of pranksters, as they call themselves. Or Jerry Rubin, going back to the 60s and that type of stuff. It's like, well, if they're going to use those kinds of tactics, so can we.
Yeah.
You take out the little bottle and the funnel and go, look, I'm going to pull. Yeah, you need to be cooled down.
Except they would call it challenging assumptions or something nice like that, right?
They probably would.
Challenging assumptions.
I don't know that I'm into hitting at them in the same way. I still do believe that there's a way you can win the argument without getting into the trenches with the pig that's down there, I think that if you hang to the truth and you just keep on there.
Yeah,
I'm in the trench with the
Yeah,
pig.
that's
okay. I mean, I understand the necessity of it, and there is a need for it. But my personality is such that I would like to try to win the argument with a clear sense of truth-telling in a very concise form, to try to get people that don't understand what's going on to look at it.
Part of the technique that they use involves using people who are in the trenches, and then the people who are not in the trenches kind of point over there and go, see what they said, and then they use that.
Yes, they
kind
do.
of, and so we primarily talk a lot about the hypocrisy, the contradictions, and we go down and we wrestle with them in the mud and try to come up with ways for people outside the trench to look at what's going on there and then make cogent, polite statements about
Right.
the relationship between the sides. And
That's
it's
right.
really kind of what we did.
It does work too. I mean, in the groups that I was sitting in a couple times that I went to those listens, when they start to see that someone is altruistically trying to make a point without seemingly to be on either side, you grab small pockets of people that will then support you in that group.
Yeah, and the one thing you left out, you talk about the facilitator, which is the person who's standing up by the whiteboard or the chalkboard or
The main one.
the main person. But there are also plants
That's
in
right.
there. And I did write about this because I videotaped and I wrote up a whole bunch of things. There are also people in the group that
Correct.
are in on this as well. That's part of this.
They're undercover.
This is part of the Delphi principle, part of the Delphi strategy that they do, that was arranged by the Rand Institute back in the 50s and 60s
Right.
to get as you said, a
Predetermined consensus.
Correct. So there is no listening going on
No.
here. But I look at this and go, yeah, I should get myself to one of these because it can just be so much fun to throw sand into the gearworks.
Well, you know what? At the first one I went to, they didn't know who I was. The second one, they started to figure it out, and they had other facilitators come and join our group to try to, shut me down.
If you're lucky, you can get all the facilitators to come to you.
Yeah, which takes them away from the other group.
That's true.
All right, that's our show. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Kevin, for sticking around. My name's Steve McDonald. I'm here with Skip Murphy. This is GrokTALK, a production of GrokTALK.com, and we'll be back next with Bill O'Brien and somebody else. I can't remember who, but we'll figure that out.
Oh, good.
Thanks. Bye.
That was awesome. How honest of you. You should stop being honest. You're
No.
supposed to be a politician. You're
No,
supposed to just-
honest.
oh,
We got to win by honest.
Okay.
Honest.
Grok TV.